This is your ego talking, Jay Moore.
That's not my ego talking. That's just the real.
I got a deep dive. This is random, but it's a deep dive question. It's related to a certain selfishness as we have as creators, and I want you guys to tell me if this is selfish or if it's human nature. And it's the fact of wanting or really, really wanting your flowers or your respect as a creative, because I was told that that's selfish to actually want to get your flowers for the work that you've put in and the things that you've done versus just letting someone tell you that you're great. Do you see where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Do you see where I'm going? So to me, I think it's human nature to want to get your props for the work that you put in. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I'm just throwing it out there to see what you guys think about it, because I was told that could be from a selfish standpoint where you want your props.
It is from a selfish standpoint. It's from an egoistic standpoint. That's your ego talking.
Okay.
Shouts to everybody in the chat and everybody who's listening who's heard an eckhart tolle book and read A New Earth or one of those mugs.
Oh, okay.
But like, I'm not even going to say that it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't want to label good and bad with it, but it is selfish.
Dive into it a little bit for me.
It's selfish, or it's egoistic in the sense to where you want praise for something that you're doing. You want people to look at you and give you props. Mm-hmm. You want to be recognized. What is speaking? What part of you is actually
That's
doing
your
that?
ego.
It's your ego that wants that, right?
That's your ego.
So I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I think too much ego can get in the way of just existing and creating freely, because in the back of your mind, you might hold some spite because you're not getting that from said person or whatnot. But if you're just creating from a free place and you're making stuff, we all want to be acknowledged for everything that we're doing, whether we're creatives or not.
That's why I said the human nature piece.
Whether we're fathers or whether we're mothers or sons or whatever, just people in a workplace or whatever that is, we want to be acknowledged for that. And so if you're creative, it just so happens that the things that you do is creative and it's art, and you want to change the world in that manner. So I think it does come from a place of ego. I operate from a place of trying to destroy my ego as much as I can. Mm-hmm. But it's a constant process, and it's something that I don't know if I'll ever fully accomplish, because I don't think I'm ever going to be a monk. But
because there's a difference between overly wanting someone to acknowledge you and just pushing stuff in the forefront and asking for, look at me, versus just the human nature side of you to say, well, it would be dope to kind of be, get some love for some of the work that you've put in. I think those are two different things.
I think they're two different things, but I also think that if you're truly operating from a place of, I don't want to say not caring, but just appreciating, like, I want to come from a place, me personally, I want to operate from a place of just appreciating the people that appreciate what I do.
I do too.
And that's it.
I do too.
If you can't see the greatness that I do from whatever angle that is,
might not be for you.
Then it's not for you, and that's okay. Maybe I need to change my presentation a little bit to reach you in that manner, if I care about reaching you in that manner. Okay. Otherwise, it's just what it is, man. Like, not everything's for everybody. Not everybody has to be there for everybody. A lot of us out here want to be everything for everybody, right, as much as we can, but we don't have the time to. And like, I'm not gonna get mad at somebody who wants to support for some reason but just can't for whatever thing they have going on in their life. I don't want to be that person. You know what I mean? I got you. And I used to be that person a long time ago, and I've changed and evolved over through the years.
You and I have talked, we've talked privately about this on the surface a little bit in terms of what you're saying. So I don't know, man. And Jay, I'll come to you and Terry as well. But when I heard the selfish part, I like what you broke down when you said it is your ego. But I just know that there are sometimes we see people that just go overboard.
Well, there's the Kanye's.
Just so bad just to try to get it. To me, that's different. That's annoying. That's annoying.
I think as well, I think it's easy to kind of look at the people that do it to the extreme, like a Kanye, and be like, well, I'm not as bad as Kanye, so that means that I'm okay.
That I'm okay, right.
You know what I mean? So, and I think that's what we have to be careful of. Just because we're not doing the extreme version of it doesn't mean that what we're doing isn't detrimental to the things that we're trying to do.
Okay. What you think, Terry, in terms of, because you're a creative. You got things that you do that are dope and that you're great at. And do you look for certain levels of validation, or is it just like Lone said, it's just for the people that rock with it and that's what it's for?
No, not really. And sometimes that can be a curse in itself because you're not putting yourself up in the light of asking or wanting people to validate what you are. You know what I'm saying? When we live in a society where that's pretty much how it operates. You're supposed to big up yourself. You're supposed to say that you're this and you're that, and hey, look at me. I'm just not that type of individual.
Right.
So it doesn't affect me in a sense of me asking for it, but it may affect me in a sense of other people not looking because I'm not like that. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
I like that. I still fall victim to it. Don't get it twisted. Like I'll do like doing things, and it's just kind of like it would really be nice to be acknowledged here, but then I have to check myself. It's kind of like you know what I mean. But it's not like nobody wants to not be acknowledged for things.
And that's what I mean when I say there's that human nature factor in it. Where it's exactly what.
But that's what I'm constantly working to rid of. Is my answer to that.
Yeah.
Right. I got you.
I kind of changed when we were doing big, bringing down the band a lot, like 24/7 all the time, and the amount of work that we were putting in versus what people were giving back.
It's not skewed completely.
Yeah, it was crazy skewed, and it started to rub me the wrong way because I would look at certain people like, you know, you expect us to just do this for you, using the platform, but you're not returning that love, essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Barbara in Chicago. They swore by Fake Short Drive. Still do.
Still do, yeah.
Essentially, we were Fake Short Drive of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still here, but we're just not doing it
in the same way.
The same capacity that we were doing it. And I don't think people were grasping on to what we actually had and the energy and the flow that we had. And it got to the point where I was just like, man, F these people, essentially. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And that was something that you had to work on, kind of like what he's talking about, to get out of that mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like we had to step away from it to a degree, you know what I mean? Because it's a thankless job, you know what I mean? And it's like, kind of goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about like building things within the city and stuff and how the culture grows from under, like that, what we were doing was an integral part to that.
True.
Yeah.
Whether people want to acknowledge it or not, it's up to them. But what we were doing was we were building infrastructure for what's to come afterwards. And that's the way that I look at it.
Right.
You know, things can thrive now because of what we were doing then, and kind of give path to those things in the future. But yeah, at the time, you know, we had 12,000 posts. A lot of those were Indiana artists too. You know what I mean? And so just the amount of people that just didn't have the vision of what it could have been, but we did, because we had that. Andrew Barber went to the same high school as we did.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like,
I knew about Andrew Barber. I knew about Fake Short Drive. You did a project with him in like 2009.
Yeah.
So I'm hip to the things that he is doing in Chicago, and I'm we can do that here, but people just didn't grasp it.
And and it's the total opposite, because I was living in Chicago as he was building it. And I was actually there, and I saw the groundswell around him as it started to come up.
Yeah.
So as he would pop out, because he started off going to all these places and events and just passing out cards, the groundwork. Right. But when I saw the actual hip hop culture there embrace him, once they got past he's from Indiana or whatever. Right. Once they got past that, they actually started to embrace him, and the springboard, once it hit, took off.
Yeah, because they realized that resource meant a lot as far as exposure.
Period.
And if everybody's getting behind it, then it's going to move.
Yeah.
And you all bringing down the band had the exact same structure here.
Similar, not exactly.
I take that back. I take that back. You're right. I take that back. But similar concept. But the groundswell wasn't there. Again, to go back to the conversation we're talking about now, it was just kind of a learning experience for me, and Terry kind of touched on it as well. Like, we saw what it could have been, but then I had to just accept, well, this is what it is. Right.
And how can I just take what is and just, build from there? What's the next step? You know what I mean? And maybe do it differently. Maybe approach it from a different angle. That's where this podcast was spawned from. It's literally, it's what we're like, well, we're not blogging anymore. What about a talk show?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe we can reach people in that manner. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what you think?
Evolved from being just local. Well, I mean, it wasn't local. It wasn't local then either, but we made sure to put local people included in a light to where they would be seen amongst their peers from other areas.
Yep.
Lots of local people.
Yeah.
We'll just say lots.
Yeah.
Jay, what you think, man? What do you think about the things that you do and how you're received or perceived?
Well, you're talking to somebody who basically did take that Tuesday for almost a decade, didn't see any money.
That's true.
We would be happy if there were 15 or 20 people that came to see us on a Tuesday night. But then I just remember it was the 9th anniversary. That was the one.
Yeah.
Where it all came together. And all of a sudden, on the 10th one, we was like, okay, we're going to start moving tables out of here. We got to start early, so everybody who can get in wants to get in. And now we're about to have the 18th anniversary next month. So, and the thing is, man, about ego, and sometimes you can have ego, and it's not always a bad thing because you know what you've done and the work that you've put in. No diss to anybody who had a podcast stage or anything during All-Star Weekend, but there are people where I'm like, even if we couldn't have done it, somebody should have asked
100%.
Should have asked the new old heads to be on one of these podcast stages.
100%.
Because we put in the work. People know who we are.
Yep.
And because even with saying that, one of the highlights of my weekend was running into people who I did not know who talked about how much they love the podcast.
Yeah.
How they watch as soon as it comes out, that if not that day. Maybe that was a boost of my ego when people would tell me, how much.
It's affirmation, right?
Yeah, because it's like, sometimes you can look at the numbers and not really, get that affirmation because there's numbers on a screen or on a computer. But when you talk to somebody who comes up and gives you a handshake or gives you a hug and was like, oh man, I really love what you guys do.
Yeah.
I remember when they'll go into specifics about things that we've talked about, even things that they've disagreed with us about, but at the same time, we know that we have that traction with real people. It really does feel good. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, sometimes, sometimes there can be a healthy ego.
I call it confidence.
Yeah. Maybe it's just a different
confidence,
word.
Yeah.
But sometimes I tell people this, not that we're just in this crazy race to, get rich doing this. We do actually, we're working on some things.
Yeah.
But one of the things is our thing was not, if you give me a choice and you say, do you want to work with somebody who wants to be famous or rich? Even the part that's, where we talk about capitalism, I'm still going to pick the person who wants to be rich because someone who wants to be famous will do anything. They'll engage in a level of foolishness just to be famous.
That's it.
And, my goal, even though I've taken the longer, less traveled route on certain things, my name may not be on flyers. You may not see my face on a piece of paper or on a video screen, but my name is always on checks.
I heard that.
Okay.
It matters.
I heard
so, a lot of you had your face and name on flyers this weekend. But when it was time, they was like, hey, but they paid you in attention. Yeah. And at this point,
that check.
And at this point, you can't pay me in attention. I made no bones about it. If you saw me this weekend, it's because I was getting paid.
This is your ego talking, Jay Moore.
That's not my ego talking. That's just the real.
It's just the real ego.
Yeah. That too. As long as that check clears in a real bank.
Absolutely.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I can dig it.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. If you seen me, I definitely got a check that day.
And that's pretty much where I'm at in general with most things too. And it's not, and a lot of it has to do with, I think, dues as well. Like,
you say like
paying dues.
Like
paying dues. Like I've done that already. And a lot of these events and stuff, I wouldn't mind just showing up and supporting to some degree. But,
yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of this stuff too is like, I've already done it.
Yeah.
Like I've done it so many times. Like I was literally having a conversation with shouts to DJ 𝐀𝐿𝐿. He's been on the show a few times.
Yep.
About the 2 Chainz and Lil Wayne show, and he had a chance to go, and he's just like, "No, I'm just gonna stay home." And I was like, "Yeah, I probably would have done the same." Like I've seen him before. It was good. I don't. It's cold out.
Yeah.
Yeah, different things go into factor nowadays. You know what I'm saying? It's a young man's game out here as far as wanting to show up to everything and be seen. That doesn't
need it, man.
Anymore.
Yeah, but
I've met Jeezy before, and I guarantee you he doesn't remember me. So there's really no point me trying to meet him again.
At all.
Yeah.
At all.